What's going on, guys? Welcome back. My name is Brandon, and this week we're going to be continuing on with our MIG welded aluminum race cabinets. Stick around. For those of you that are new here, this is what we're working on. These are what are called aluminum race cabinets, and these are going to be going in the front of my enclosed trailer. It's going to be used as a mobile welding rig and also as a toy hauler. This is where we're at. This is a store-bought toolbox. I'm going to be going over all of this stuff and showing you guys exactly what you need to do if you're thinking about building one of these for yourself. This could be used, in your workshop. You could easily build that to fit underneath your workbench. If you had, covered this with a stainless steel top, how great would that look to have these cabinets here? So this week we're going to finish up all around the perimeter to get this box mounted in there, and we're going to be starting on our doors. For those of you that say, well, I'm not set up to do aluminum, this isn't something that I could attain or I could do myself, you absolutely can, guys. This aluminum coupon that you see right here was welded up using this 120 volt Hobart Handler 140. It's a 120 volt MIG welder that I've converted over to weld aluminum. It's really simple to do. You take the stock liner out, replace it with a graphite or a graphene liner, then you add some argon gas. It is that simple. So if you guys have yourself a standard MIG welder, you can easily do this project by just doing the things that I said. I have a link to a video up above. It is super popular, showing you exactly how to do this. It's really easy, and you guys can get professional results in a little bit of time. It does take some practice to get good, because welding aluminum is very similar to welding steel. However, it just takes a little bit more practice. There's a little more of a learning curve. But if you already know how to MIG weld steel, you can easily transition over to MIG welding aluminum. So if you have a standard MIG welder, you guys can easily convert this over. We're doing something a little bit different, which is I consider a little bit of an upgrade, and we're using a spool gun. Now, the advantages of a spool gun is it's only pushing the wire from here to here, so there's very little chance of any feeding issues that sometimes you can get when pushing really soft aluminum wire down through a long MIG whip. Another advantage is it also allows you to use a wire which is 4043. It's a little bit softer than the standard 5356 wire that you would run if you were doing it and pushing it through the whip. And for that reason, this wire is really well suited for a spool gun. But like I say, you can get really professional results doing it with the equipment that you already have. And a lot of people just don't realize that you can easily do this and convert your welder over. Go check out that video if you want to see exactly what you need to do to get it done. Costs you about $15 for the liner, and then the bottle of gas, that's going to cost you whatever it's going to cost you through your local welding supply store. Now, this cabinet needs to be able to pull out through the front, and the reason for that is because in behind here, again, this is at the nose of the trailer, in behind this cabinet I've got a 12 volt battery that's going to run all the equipment and appliances inside, and there's just other stuff that we have to get to up at the nose potentially, like if you ever had to replace the wiring for the hitch or any other thing, you got to be able to get back there. So I need this toolbox to be able to come out really easily. The way we did this is this part right here is actually permanently bolted to the toolbox, which is also this piece right here. So this comes right out with the toolbox. This part here, which is also this, is permanent to this frame here. So what I'm going to do is take some flat bar and weld it along this edge right here so that the toolbox has like a guide to slide into, and so that you don't push the toolbox back too far. We're also going to weld it on the back here, so that'll stop the toolbox from coming out too far. So what I got to do is slide this toolbox out right now, and we got to weld some flat bar all the way around this perimeter right here that'll make this as like a guide and a stop for this toolbox. So I think what I'm going to do is, just to make sliding it in and out a little bit easier, I'm just going to smooth up this weld right here in the corner here, just to give it a little more clearance. And I'll do a little bit right here, because you can see how it's kind of rubbing. You see where it's a little bit shiny right there. So I'll scrub that weld down just a little bit to give some clearance. I can see that I forgot to weld this right here, so we got to weld that, and we got to weld that. And then I'll weld some flat bar to this side that creates a track for this toolbox to slide in. So that'll prevent it from sliding back, when you put on the brakes, but then we got to find a way to keep it from sliding out when we go down the road. And I'm not really sure. I want it simple. Needs to be easy. Maybe just like a bolt up through the bottom, a couple bolts. We've got quite the community going on over on Facebook right now, and I'm just really loving how that's growing over there. We use that section to kind of like communicate with each other, share stories of what we're working on. But one of my viewers over there, Scott, had mentioned that he'd like to see me take you guys out on jobs, like on YouTube, basically. Well, I think that that's an awesome idea, and I'm going to start doing that more once we get this trailer converted over into our mobile welding rig. I just have to be careful, like when I'm filming, because people don't like to be on camera, for one, and for two, I also have to be careful because, let's face it, not everybody is following the rules all the time, and we don't need to give OSHA any more power than they already have. If I have OSHA representatives on here watching, I apologize, but I mean, it's the truth. You know, OSHA comes in, their intentions are to make the workplace safe. A lot of times it costs the employer thousands of dollars. So I certainly don't want to go out and start filming on a job where I'm showing stuff and I'm actually creating video documentation for OSHA to use against a possible employer of mine that is paying me to do a job, and here I am showing them doing stuff, you know, inadvertently that may not be up to OSHA standards. So I got to be careful doing that. That's kind of why I don't film a lot of the stuff that I'm doing out in other places. For one, people don't like it, and for two, I don't necessarily want to create a journal of somebody who may not be doing something the way they should be, including myself, because none of us are perfect. You know, a simple cord with a bad cord or an abrasion on it is supposed to be taken out of service. That can be a fine if somebody saw me using a tool that had a bad cord, or there's just a lot of things that could cause a lot of problems. Come join us over on our Facebook community. It's growing. I'm trying to put like a place together where everybody can just like share all their projects. It usually ends up falling under a post. Like, I'll post what we're working on. It'll be the sidelines of what we're doing here, and then I'll ask what other people are building, and then usually the comments are just filled with tons of projects. So, and I love seeing it, and I think we all love seeing what people are working on. So go check out that. Make sure you're following me on all my social media, because that's where we're doing all our giveaways too. We're announcing them there, we're doing them here. I want people that want to win stuff to be part of it. And over the last few months since October, we've given away thousands of dollars in free welding equipment. And I'm sure that the people who have won can attest that all this stuff is real. There's no catches, there's no glitches. This isn't, you know, clickbait or any other thing. When somebody wins something on this channel, they legitimately get it and it's sent to them for free. And I'm just loving being able to do this. I just picked up this cordless grinder. I paid $138.99 for this on Amazon, and I wanted to give it a try. Now, it's not that I'm a cheap person, because I do have nice equipment, and a lot of people say, well, you know, you should only buy the best or buy name brand, and I'm going to try not to get on a huge rant here, but let me just say that when I started out welding, I was probably 15 years old, and I started out with what we had. It's what my dad bought. It was pretty much junk. It was a flux core welder, 90 amp, and the thing was constantly giving me problems. But fast forward a few years, and I built a ton of stuff, and that welder made me a ton of money. Had my dad held out to the day where he could have afforded a name brand piece of equipment, I may have never ever got started in welding. So when people say, you know, that you buy, you know, generic stuff or this, that, and the other, I owned my own business for 12 years. And when I owned my own business, I always bought name brand stuff. I tried to buy the best of the best, because people are right. When you buy good stuff, usually has a good warranty that stands behind it. But not everybody can go out and justify spending, you know, $2,500 for a MIG welder like I did on my Feronius. But the point is that sometimes you just got to buy what you can afford. We'd all like to have better, but you can't maybe justify spending that much money for something maybe that you're doing as a hobby, or something that you're trying to, you know, build yourself up and get your feet off the ground so that you can start your own business. Sometimes you have to buy stuff that just isn't the top shelf name brand, but it will get the job done. So I try to feature a lot of that stuff on this channel, and maybe, you know, weed out the junk and keep the good stuff. But I don't know, this is a brand new 4.5-inch angle grinder that I just picked up. You can see right there, paid 138 bucks on Amazon. I'll have a link to it, but it's pretty awesome. This is brushless, which is pretty cool because this thing starts up. It's got an auto feature. It's all digital on top. I don't know if you can see that right now, but it's got a digital. It's got a battery indicator showing you how much battery life is left. It's a 21 volt tool. So we're gonna use this a little bit and test it out. I'll put a link down below if you guys want to see about this, but I can't recommend it yet because I haven't used it on a job yet. So I would like to use this for a few months before I actually say, yeah, this thing's good, but I will put a link. You guys can check it out. Actually, I might do that with all of these cabinets openings because it gives a nice radius opening. Look how finished that looks, as opposed to something, you know, like that. I just think that looks so much better. And for disc, I'm just using the one that came with it. It seems to be holding up pretty well, pretty impressive. Doesn't have a name on it, doesn't even have a grit listed on the back because it came with this kit. But you can see it came with all these discs, came with 4 of those grits, 2 batteries. This came in a little carrying case, came with an extra set of arbors, which I don't know why it's got 2 arbors, they're identical, but it came with 2 sets of arbors, battery charger, and 2 wrenches. And I don't know why it came with 2 wrenches either. I don't use the wrenches, guys, and I'm sure a lot of you don't. So I can show you how I do this, but take the lock, press the lock down, and then just, so if I want to loosen it, press the lock, you know, kind of brace the end on, you know, something like my leg, and then just rotate this counterclockwise. And then the disc will come right off. Somebody asked, well, you know, if you tighten them like that, won't the wheel come loose? And they won't, because as you're using it, the tool is actually tightening on this arbor. So then to tighten it, same way, give her tighten clockwise and you're good. And done it this way for years, never had a disc fall off. But if you're concerned that you might not have the wrist strength to tighten this down, then I would encourage you to use that tool. Something like this tool too would be good to use with like a stainless steel so that you could clean all your aluminum welds, because whenever you're welding aluminum, you want to make sure that you're mechanically abrading the aluminum to get the oxide layer away, and you also got to make sure that you're using a solvent, you know, which I use acetone, wipe everything down and gets all the contaminants off it. To make that perimeter, I got some 1.5" by 1/8" thick flat bar. So let's get some measurements of what I need for lengths, and it looks like we need about 26 3/16. And I like to use a scribe so I get a real crisp line. 26 3/16. Then take your square and slide it up to your edge. And there we go. Nice crisp line at 26 3/16. Guys, some advice I can give you if you're going to work for someone or you want to try to find the job of your dreams. Learn how to read a tape measure, guys. I learned this the hard way back when I was fairly young. I went to a job interview and they said, okay, what is this mark? And they literally had a piece of paper with a circle on the mark and they asked me to tell them what the measurement was. And like a fool, I couldn't tell them. I didn't have the answer, you know, like 6 little lines past the number. I didn't know what that meant. So know how to read a tape measure, because trust me, after that, that never happened again. And I actually used that as a benchmark when I broke out and went to work for myself. And then I would hire people, I would actually use that same benchmark to ask them, do you know how to read a tape measure? That's a basic function of, you know, welding and fabrication or anything that requires precision and layout. You should know how to use a tape measure. So if you don't know how to use a tape measure, don't look at as me trying to put you down. Just look for it as something to aspire to learn so that you can do that, because you know, you got 2 people with the same skill set. One can read a tape measure and one can't, and you have a test, and who's going to get the job? Probably, if they're asking that question, the one that knows how to read a tape over the one who doesn't. And just something that I would recommend doing to, you know, better yourself. So So that's flush to the bottom. You can see how far up that is. But if I hold it down a little bit, just let it overhang a little bit, that will be good. So I don't have to rip this down. I'll just slide this down lower onto this bar. Got some weld on the back that we're going to have to grind flush to clean up. Not a big deal. Let's get everything cut and then we can do all our fabrication next. Yeah, so needless to say, guys, I was like super embarrassed. You know, just to give you guys some ideas of what employers ask. I've been asked to actually lay out stairs before on a job interview, asking me how to put stairs together. You know, lucky for me, I had done a lot of stair pan welding and stuff in commercial buildings. I made sure that I learned it because learning those two things that I've just mentioned right now allowed me, when I broke out on my own, to go build stairs and do that for other people, you know, as a subcontractor. Go in and put it all together for them. A lot of years I worked without having one of these metal cutting chop saws, and what a game changer this thing is. This just really ups your production value and productivity, how fast you can build stuff. So yeah, once I get my trailer rigged up and all set to go and ready to start doing mobile jobs, I will really make a conscious effort to bring you guys along with me. How that's gonna go along there to make that track to slide in, but we got a lot of weld down there we got to get rid of because I want the attachment point to be back kind of like that. And once that's done, then we can start welding. Get all this stuff welded in, and the toolbox will be 100% done. Then we can start working on building our doors. And if you guys follow me over there on Facebook, you'll know that I picked up some electrical contactors and some wire and all kinds of specialty stuff so that when you open these doors up, there'll be a magnetic switch in the corner that actually is going to turn on a cabinet light inside here. So if you're, working at night or picking up, you open up the door, the lights turn on inside the cabinet so you can see. When you close it, they turn off. You probably heard it pick up speed towards the end of it. I just switched it from the auto mode, basically like auto sensing, into high speed just because it was taking a little bit longer than I wanted. So yeah, this side's all ground down. This should fit pretty good now. So this will end up going on like this. About 1/4 of an inch of this lip will extend above this, which means a little bit of this is going to hang down here. So we'll be able to get some weld along the inside edge here, which will strengthen things up too. So this area here, right up under the toolbox, this is where that track needs to fit around. So I just set this gauge to that just so I don't end up bumping that track into this black metal piece. So there's that. And initially I just eyeballed this, so now I just need to make sure that this is at or below that. And it is. There we go. There's that. I'll just check it down here real quick. Good. That's perfect. All right, we're just about ready to start welding, guys, and I'm just going to talk real briefly about safety. I try to be like a good example of safety. Sometimes I slip up. We all do. Matter of fact, like not too long ago in an episode, I actually had like Crocs on, and somebody called me out on it. Fair enough. I'm not perfect, and I never claim to be, but I try to do a good job. I try to be conscious in my own workshop, but at the end of the day, ultimately, just like you guys, I pay my own bills. So if I go to the hospital and I get metal in my eye or I get something in my foot because I was careless, that kind of falls on me. So I'm just like you guys. I'm not perfect, but I try to do a good job. So when you weld in aluminum, aluminum is super toxic, so you definitely want to have a respirator. And there's all kinds of different cartridges that you can use. I use the 2097s, and there's a couple more that I use also. A lot of people say, well, they think this is a particulate cartridge. This is actually for welding fumes, welding vapors, cutting, and fabrication operations. So, and that's listed right on 3M's website. If you guys are wondering about any of the tools or anything that you see me using in this video, I'll have links down below. Get yourself a pair of safety glasses. You're going to want that. And make sure that your arms are covered up, that you're wearing like a cotton shirt or a welding jacket, because UV rays are powerful, and you don't want to get constant burns on your arms and in your neck and stuff like that. That can lead to skin cancer, and that's not good. So for this project, guys, I'm going to be using a brand new welder. It's the same one I used in last week's episode. I don't even think I told you what it was, but it's the YWM 211P. Now what this is, this does MIG, pulse MIG. It's also spool gun compatible, and you can see it does stick and lift TIG, but this also does what's called double pulse MIG. The one thing I like about this welder is that it has 10 presets in this. So you can set it up for something like, let's say, steel or aluminum in a certain thickness, and then store that parameter. So once you get it dialed in, you know just what you have. Us older folks, that's half the battle, is remembering what settings work the best. I may stop this project, then get back to it a few days later and completely forget what I had for settings for this because I've welded steel, or I've done something else, or I've been stick welding. So what I've done is I've just created like a list, and I've been going down when I weld something and I find something that works good. I create a channel or a preset, and then I just write on this piece of paper what it's for. So I know that on channel 1, if I'm welding 1/8" aluminum using 5356 wire, 30 thousandths diameter, use that setting. That works good. I've got a number 2 setting, which is the exact same setup. It's just a little bit hotter. So channel 1 might be for like a butt joint, and this one might be for like a T-joint where you need a little more temperature in it. Then channel 3, I've got set up for spool gun settings for aluminum using 3/64 4043 wire on 1/8" aluminum. Channel 3 is the setting I have for this. So that's the one thing that's awesome about this machine and having these presets that I love. So again, I'll have links to this down below, and I'll also have a discount code that's going to save you 10%, because who doesn't like to save money? So let's turn on our argon. We stand off to the side, turn it on real slow, open it all the way, because argon, C25, all of that, they have what's called a back seating valve, and by opening it all the way, you're sealing this stem, or this that's up in here. It seals it on the back so that it doesn't leak around this packing nut. And I'm running right around 30 CFH of argon. And I'm running this on 240 volts. So let's say I want to run some 5356 30 thousandths wire, and I want to weld some 1/8" aluminum. We'll switch it over onto channel 1 because I've already determined that that's an awesome setting for this wire. So you press this, go to channel 0, go to channel 1, that's it. Just turn it. You can see how it's going to say load, and it's going to go right to that. And there it is. That's on 19 volts, 11.5 meters per minute. Now, if I want to go to channel 3, which is what I'm working on right now, for my spool gun aluminum, 3/64 diameter, 4043 wire on 1/8" aluminum, again, we just press this, load, turn this knob until I get to 3, and that'll load the parameters for that setup, and you'll see it change on the screen. There we go. Those are the parameters for that. And we'll go over setting up these features on how to actually store one in an upcoming episode. So now we've got the machine set. We're on channel 3, and we've got to check our flow rates on our gas bottle. So our gas tank is on. All you gotta do is just hit this button right here, press it, gas on. Then we can come over here and look how it's flowing. And we're right around 30 CFH. That flows just for a few seconds, then it stops on its own. So aside from wiping this down with some acetone, we are just about ready to get rolling. It's a little dirty. You don't have to go crazy getting this stuff clean, but you want it pretty clean, you know? I mean, on non-critical stuff, there's been a few times where I don't even clean it. I just hit it and go, call it a day, you know? It's not best practice, of course, but, you know, the keyboard warriors will tell you, oh no, it's all gonna fail, but, you know, just like cutting corners, like I said the other day when I was wearing Crocs. You know, I didn't intentionally wear Crocs. I had them on from earlier, and something struck me to go into the workshop, and then I ended up getting sidetracked, and I had them on and didn't realize it. I mean, just like right now, I'm wearing my safety glasses on top of my head when they could be on my eyes, but sometimes I just forget if I'm doing something or they get fogged up. I'll put them to the top of my head and I'll forget where they are. I'm sure you guys have all, you know, if you guys wear a hat, looked around and said, you know, where's my hat at? Where's my hat at? And someone says, it's on your head, you know. It happens, guys. None of us are perfect, but just try to be safe because injuries aren't fun. Years ago, I got a real bad eye injury. I've told you guys this before, and it's one of these eyes. I think this one right here, and I ended up having surgery on it. I haven't lost my vision in it, but a lot of people will accuse me of like being high. They'll say I'm on drugs or I'm super high or whatever. That's just because this eye, I've gotten metal in both of them, but this eye has like a red spot on it, so it's like really red all the time. And my other one has a little bit on that, but just, you know, for the record, I don't do drugs, but people assume that I am just because I have that red scarring on it. You know, lucky for me, thank God, that I don't have any adverse problems with my eyes. I actually have perfect vision. That's why I try to kind of like preach to others to try to save your eyes and stuff like that, you know. All right, let's get to welding, guys. We got everything all cleaned up. Nothing to it but to do it. I had to move fast on that one, guys. That was hot. So now you guys probably get a better idea of how this little lip thing works now that it's right side up. So the toolbox just slides right in here. This little lip right here keeps the toolbox just kind of centered in this. Push it all the way back until, you know, obviously it hits right here. And I picked up this little cheap rivet nut kit from Harbor Freight, and what that'll allow me to do is I can drill a hole through this, you know, a through hole, and then install one of these rivet-in nuts in that aluminum part of the toolbox, so I can just put a bolt, and that'll keep everything from sliding back and forth. I apologize, we just didn't make the progress that we wanted to make during this episode. Honestly, we've had 2 huge back-to-back storms here in Maine, and that has really occupied a lot of my attention and taken it away from this project. So when we get back on it next week, we will be just dedicated to building these doors, and I know that's what you guys want to see. And I've already got the material. I'm going to use a continuous hinge right here for these doors, so that'll go right down the length there, and you can see that's looks like that's what they've used in this picture as well. And also, like I said, guys, when you open these doors up, what's going to happen is there's going to be an LED light that's attached right to the back side of this piece right here. Check this out. These just came in. These are awesome, guys, and we'll be doing that in an upcoming episode. I picked these because, for one, they have holes for mechanical connections, and I'm kind of big on mechanical connections as opposed to, you know, using like a 2-sided tape. Tape has its place, obviously, but if I can mechanically attach something, I prefer to. And it also has these clips that you can also substitute. So I can put, you know, an anchor and an anchor screw, and then one of these clips right in the middle, and that'll help hold the middle of this. And these seem to be really well constructed. These are just some cheapos I picked up on Amazon, but what I really liked is that this housing is aluminum. Really bright. Let me show you. There we go. Pretty bright, huh, guys? Now the way I'm going to do this is there'll be a little latch. I'll probably put the latch up high like this, so when I'm standing I can just, it's close. I'll pop the door open. Then when you pop the door open, this will be permanently attached on the back side of this right here. So it's not going to be getting banged up. It's not going to be getting hit none of that stuff, so it's going to be nice and protected from damage. Picked up my latches, finally came in, so that's what these are. These are the latches for the doors. I got those. I've got the wire to wire up those lights, and I even picked up some like sheath that I can run over the wire, so it's when it's running inside that aluminum tube, I don't have to worry about it, you know, chafing from vibration. To make the connections, I picked up some magnetic contactors, and one of these will be installed permanently on the frame and then one on the door. And when it makes and breaks contact, it'll turn the light on and turn it off as the door opens and closes. So I apologize, guys. My goals for next week will be to get these doors made, and we'll get all that electrical stuff wired up. That'll be one episode all on its own, and I will show you step by step everything you need to do to get that done. But I'm really happy with the progress that we made this week. Probably could have got it done if I didn't ramble so much, but all the things that I said I felt were kind of important. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're wondering about any of the things that you see me using, like I said, I'll have links down below. You guys can check it out. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because there's new videos every Friday. Until next week, guys, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, God bless. See ya.